Monday, May the 25th Council meeting. We'd like to acknowledge the land we meet on today as traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as traditional custodians of the Adelaide region, and that their culture and heritage beliefs are still as important to living Kaurna people today. We pray for wisdom to provide good governance for the city of Unley in the service of our community. Members will stand in memory of those who have made the supreme sacrifice in the service of their country on sea, on land, and in the air. Lest we forget. Apologies, Councillor Rogers and Councillor Russo. Leave of absence, nil. Conflict of interest? Minutes of the previous meeting? Councillor Gaffey, seconded. Councillor Crabb? Those in favour? Unanimous. Minutes of the special meeting, moved by Councillor Finos. Special meeting minutes, you moved. Seconded by Councillor Doyle. Those in favour? Unanimous. Petitions and deputations. I call on Mary Koloneski to present your deputation. Mary, you're just in time. Please take your stand and your deputation. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll start straight away. G'day. I've been coming to these meetings for a very long time. I moved into Goodwood 40 years ago, 1986. I've been playing the piano ever since at Goodwood. Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. I have a vested interest in this Goodwood Library. I've been playing that piano ever since then. I'm a professional piano player and fundraiser. Okay, 2015, some of you probably remember, Council planned to remove the front of Goodwood Library 25% for commercial premises. And I got a petition together with 3 other people, the biggest in Unley Council's history. We collected 1,300 signatures. Council's never had a petition that size before or since. Anyway, so the Council backed down. It was a plan, the CEO's plan that was his idea. Anyway, so I've been very active in lots of different things around the district and the city. Get my breath back. Okay, I've been, as you probably remember, 2003, the scooters, those electronic scooters were introduced, and I did petitions and all sorts of stuff. And Council, after much 2.5 years of hassling and carrying on, the Council got rid of the scooters. Been a great relief to everybody. I'm about to start a new campaign in the city centre and the CBD, get rid of the scooters in the CBD. An absolute nightmare. They're awful, they're dangerous, they're unsightly and hardly ever used. Okay, so the scooters, I've won the scooters battle. That's why I'm not very well liked in some quarters of the council, because I go into battle and I go into win, not to muck around. I'm a very busy woman. I teach piano every 4 days a week, and I do big fundraisers at my house in Goodwood, and my parties in the last 15 years have raised $30,000 for Oxfam, Save the Children, Climate Council and so on, including fundraisers on Goodwood Footpath with my students, electric piano. So I've been a professional fundraiser for many years. I tribute, commendations from all sorts of people. Okay, this year library, the renovations were completed in March, and the Goodwood piano disappeared before the reopening. Okay, about the Goodwood piano, I've played the piano in the Unley Library and Goodwood Library. They're not as good as my piano at home, of course. I've got a beautiful one, of course. Okay, the Goodwood Library piano is an asset to the library. It's the heart of the library. When I walked in first after the piano place was put back together, no piano. I was absolutely heart-struck, horrible. And no decent, no sensible reasons have ever been given for the removal of the piano in Goodwood. The piano in Unley, down here, is of the same quality as the one in Goodwood. And there's no plan to remove the Unley Council Library, I gather. No, nor should there be. Okay, it's an asset. Okay, so listen, I've been busy with my chalk recently, as you might have noticed. In the last week, May the 18th, I put with chalk on graffiti on the front of Goodwood Library near the entrance. I wrote a big writing, "Where is our piano?" ? So 3 days later, I went and did another lot, and I wrote, "Bring our piano back now," because there's no reason to take it away. Insane sort of ridiculous reasons given. And May the 23rd, that must have been, what's the date? Must have been Saturday, that's right. So I wrote on the front of the building, "Council stole our piano." As there are no good reasons that have ever been given why the Goodwood piano should be taken away. I go down there to borrow, I'm a big reader, and I go borrow books and DVDs and stuff, so I'm often there, and all of a sudden the piano's gone. Devastating for everybody else. And I've been playing there for a long time, and people always say, "Don't stop," lovely, because I've got a huge repertoire after all these years of being a professional piano player. They say, "Don't stop," wonderful stuff. So I play opera, classical music, pop music, anything, mostly opera. Okay. So also giving notice, last thing. Like I'm giving notice to council that I don't intend to stop my graffitis until the piano is returned. I've done 3 lots in a week with a big stick of chalk. Good thing I was a school teacher, isn't it? Very neat. Somebody once said, "They'll know it's you because school teacher neat. They'll know how to do graffiti." So I've done a lot of it. So I'm hoping council will do the right thing and change their mind and bring the piano back. I've got better things to do in the middle of the night than doing graffiti on the building. I've got 2 new books out of the library I need to read. So I'm hoping you'll do the right thing and just bring it back. I've got other things to do. I'll raise money for charity, that's what I do. Okay, so I hope you people do the right thing, just get it back where it belongs. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
Good.
Thank you, Mary.
If you're not happy about the graffiti, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Okay, Denise. To talk about the 10-year plan. Denise, if you could switch your microphone off, you can't be heard. Yeah, bring it down to your mouth, and then switch it on. Okay, you've got 5 minutes.
I'm on.
Off you go.
Well, you know, the subject is regards the 10-year strategies, the 4, but I just want to say the administration needs your endorsement to move forward on projects with the prime principle and purpose of welcome, safe and inclusion. So I'm concerned about those ones because things are delayed on those factors. Your choice of perfect location, it was a local park, Suda Park, the introduction photo. Twice already, Joan and I have led a request on safety by achieving 2 successful local petitions from within our own community, wanting this park to be safer for all. It is now better aligned with item 4.9 and not the City of Unley Dog and Cat Management Plan. So I'd appreciate if that was actually decided to get rid of that and sort of plan on what the community wants and needs for safety. A year ago, Joan and I provided council a detail on the quoted $15,000 fencing and garden and gate on Suda Park southern end between the staggered trees. It would be straight, but they're either side. It will simply be a continuation of the existing open style and same colour will be acceptable and is already necessary. We all know some of the examples of recent times. Given the recorded diverse urgency related to public safety, if the Council adopts item 4.9, City of Unley's strategies, there is no reason to delay this low-cost, high-benefit project any further, and best for it to be completed either before or during spring 2026, that's this year. This could be easily dealt with by bringing forward this item to follow my deputation. I thank you for allowing me this time, and I think it's important that we actually do some core problems with it. I love how you love Suda Park, but it also is not necessarily safe given the surroundings and the risks involved. So I hope that you'll be able to bring that forward rather than delaying it and classify it in the right frame of what it is. It's a community site for people and not an issue regarding dog and cat management, which is what we were saying from the beginning. And it will not be distrused because all along the other sides it's the same fencing. So, and we've got to go with today's concerns. So many people are concerned about issues of cars and traffic and so forth. And so there's a lot more to do for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, Denise.
Lead strategy.
Huh?
What she's requested is, can you bring the lead strategies forward? You need to get 2/3.
I need a 2/3 vote
To bring
to bring the lead strategy forward. All right, 2/3 is there. I'll bring the lead strategy forward, 4.9, to after the reports of the committee, to the first business of the agenda, 4.9. And while I'm about it, I've been asked to bring 4.5 ahead of 4.4 because of logical order. It should have been that way round. And 2/3, please. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. All right, so 4.9 I'll cross out down there. And good. The reports of the committees. First, minutes of the Audit Risk Committee. Thank you, Councillor Bonham.
Yes, I am happy to move in terms of the motion on the board that Council receive the report and the recommendations of the committee. And as usual, the user-friendly summary of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting is at attachment 2. So several items on the committee's agenda are going to be discussed at item 10 and also in the confidential sections of the agenda, so I'm not going to address them here. I will make comments, just draw to people's attention, as much for those people who are live streaming as for people in the gallery. So to actually draw people's attention to some key points made by the Audit and Risk Committee. So first of all, the risk report where the committee members were very concerned that Council note the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and the impacts that that's likely to have on our budgeting, and to note, or the costs particularly of our upgrades, and to note that there may be some non-urgent items that might have to be deferred given increased costs as an impact of the Middle East conflict. So they were concerned to remind us of that. Also, they were very happy with the annual business plan and budget, and very impressed by the discipline in this council about funding projects that align with its plans. So they thought we were a very disciplined council financially. Again, cautioning about current economic uncertainty. They were very happy that our operating surplus ratio is at 4.3%, allowing for us to respond to impacts of economic uncertainty, and also they were pleased that the draft budget is within our financial targets. In terms of the long-term financial plan, again, they saw the benefits of an ongoing operating surplus, providing capacity for us to fund major infrastructure projects into the future, and making sure that we keep those the plan within our key financial targets. And I suppose that's very much one for the next council to take on board, that we actually keep within those financial targets and understand the importance of that. I think one of the key things that I wanted to bring to people's attention was the fantastic work that that staff have done on the internal audit report. And in this last period, we looked at council's grant application process, and the audit examined the process from identifying grant funding through to acquitting the grant. And here, they were particularly focused on one-off grants. And in taking a detailed look at that entire process, came across a number of concerns. So some key findings tended to be the ad hoc, a process for accessing grant funding, that there's no policy or procedure guiding staff about applying for grants. There's no separation of duties between people scoping and applying for grants and then implementing and acquitting them. And they saw some issues with that. So out of that, the recommendations from the report, we had 4 recommendations, but overall, the Audit Committee was really concerned that we consider developing a grants policy. So rather than the 4 key points that were made as recommendations, they've suggested that we consider developing a grants policy and have an internal grants procedure to tidy up those problems with our grant process as it stands. Finally, the final point was the internal financial controls. Out of 126 of them, there was 1 that was referred for further treatment to actually make those controls more effective, and that is with the inventory, and that is basically improving the stock records.
Okay, Councillor Gaffey, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to thank Councillor Bonham for her review of the audit.
Could you speak a little bit closer to the microphone?
Sorry, Your Worship. Her review of the Audit and Risk Committee was very comprehensive there. I'd like to reiterate a couple of things, one of which was we had the Centennial Park Authority speak to us in confidence, but I can say that the general sort of tone of things is that it appears to be well run at this point. They appear to be able to respond to the questions of the committee members. And certainly Councillor Bonham and myself asked them multiple questions during this sort of committee process there, and they were able to do so. Their work appears to be thorough, and they appear to have a good plan going forward. So the general tone for how we would perceive it is that it appears to be in the right direction. The strategic risk report, as has been noted, because it's a risk and audit committee, we're always looking at what the risks are. As has been mentioned, the Middle East is a concern. Basically, a lot of the flow-on effects with inflation, how will things change, how we'll be able to deliver our capital works, and so basically it was maintaining a watching brief on the situation, and that council should be aware. Going through the annual business plan and budget, it's the same thing every time with this committee. The committee members around it keep going on and on and on about how good Unley Council is, and in comparison. So the members that sit on this committee sit on various other councils there, so they know what they're talking about. And so they always remark upon not only about how we are fiscally sound, but also the work that's done behind the scenes in making sure that it's up to scratch, and they're very impressed with how the administration runs. I'd like to touch on a couple of things. One is, which has been mentioned, Jim Phillips, the Principal Risk Management Officer. His ongoing work to strengthen council processes, which was spoken by Councillor Bonham, is one of those things that's done behind the scenes that's probably not noticed by council members unless you're on this committee. But he continually questions about how we operate and ensures that administration is performing to a high standard expected. And so this review where he's gone through the grants process is just one of these internal audits that he does. And it's especially important because it makes the administration, certainly the executive, have to justify certain ways in which we do things. It's a little check just to make sure that we're not just doing the same thing every time, but are we doing the right thing and can we do them better? So I'd like to commend Jim on his work. The other thing is that Daniel Edwards, who's here, our Principal Governance and Policy Officer, has done some amazing work in reviewing and refreshing council policies there. A chart that many of you might not have actually seen tonight showed how bad we were in keeping the policies up to scratch when she first started the role, and now we're probably at about 90% there. You know, it's a fair bit of gentle but persistent encouragement to the executive to make sure that the policies are up to date. And there's a big thanks to her for her efforts there in making sure that we are up to date. I think that probably 90% is going to be the ceiling for what we get in terms of being up to date, because as you know, we fix one policy, the next one sort of comes off, and so it is quite refreshing to see that this is working. But just finally, it's a great committee to be on because it basically allows us to see how others perceive our council, and so the members that sit on there are impressed with what's happening, and they do give us some descriptions about sometimes other councils are not up to the standard that we have. So I would commend administration for the work that they've done.
Any questions or speakers? I'd like to just add to Danielle, thank you and well done. I'd also like to thank the committee for the work you're doing. Our resources, our finances, and this council work very hard and very disciplined to maintain a wonderful set of books which enables us to have some confidence about the future and to make sure that we apply all the resources we have to the job we have to achieve for our community. So well done to everybody and Danielle. Mover?
Close.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Transition, oh, hang on, I've got, hang on, yes, I know. 4.9, almost skipped, didn't I? Would somebody like to move in terms? Thank you, Luke. Councillor Doyle.
Yes.
Put the motion up there, thank you. Nobody's spoken to me about this. So thank you, Luke.
Yes, I'd like to move in terms. And I'll probably, to try and put a link between the deputation that we've heard and this motion, it might be around the area of open space. So I would encourage Denise to engage with her ward councillors. And there is an open space section, places and spaces, in this, the 4 lead strategies. But yes, they make a lot of sense. You've got the 4 lead strategies that form part of our path forward, and it captures everything. So there's a lot of common sense there. So I'd like to move that. Thank you.
Second. This side, somebody. Thank you, Councillor Roach. Reserve your right in case somebody speaks, because we've had a workshop. No, mover? Close. Yes, close. Those in favour? Thank you very much. Excellent workshop, excellent presentations of the 4-year figures, and very well presented 4 documents. So well done. Next, where are we up to? We go backwards. 4.1, options for CHIP. Thank you, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move not just that the report be received, which was the recommendation, but that we add item 2, which you can see on the screen now. Just allow members a chance to absorb that.
I just note thanks to Councillor Palmer and Councillor Beat for making sure that I've had cited all this, and I've also approved this one to come forward.
Okay, I'm happy to go with July if that's being prompted.
Yeah, I didn't consult the CEO.
And look, and I give credit to Councillor Bonham here, who prompted me in this direction. Admin have done a magnificent job in the transitioning that has occurred in such a short space of time. Having said that, some of the clients, and you can expect that some of the clients won't have been talked to yet, just enough to put a little concern out there that things may not be happening as they would have hoped. So this variation is primarily to address any uncertainty that may exist by building into this motion an opportunity to bring a closure come June 30 when we should be complete.
Michael, Councillor Beat, you can't have.
Thank you, Worship. Look, I'm happy to speak to this now and support what Councillor Palmer has said. Congratulations again to administration. I mean, this has been a huge job. They've handled it very, very well, very efficiently. I think we're ahead of schedule in most areas. One of the big issues that have been concerned to a lot of the people involved in the CHIS program has been some of the social programs. And we had a deputation some while ago about the Buddies and Bells breakfasts, and the representative from Trinity Care came and attended breakfast a couple of weeks ago and has assured the members of those groups that things would continue as they are in the same location. So I think that's sort of eased concern. That's an example of how the transition is happening smoothly, and it's eased the concerns of a number of people. Still be some concerns around the community, I expect, but we'll deal with those as we come. But again, I think staff are dealing with it extremely well.
Okay, if there's no other speakers, Vanessa, would you like to say a few words? It's a very tricky transition. I sent an email around today sharing some comments made to me at the picture.
Through the chair, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just wanted to clarify that every CHISP client has been spoken to, every CHISP client or their family representative. I acknowledge that it doesn't mean every client is happy, but I did just want to reiterate that we have spoken to everyone, that nobody has been left out.
And the volunteers that have been helping?
The volunteers have also been, we've been working with the volunteers, and many of them have already secured places in the new transition providers, and there's still an opportunity for us to keep working through that. So not every volunteer currently has a position, but many do.
Good. And those that haven't, please, could they be spoken to personally?
Of course, yeah. We've still got nearly 6 weeks until the transition is over.
Excellent. Mover?
Closed.
Those in favour? All right, well done. It's tricky. Next, new water allocation licence. Hey, who wants to spend? Peter. Councillor Hughes.
Yes, I'd like to move in terms and say that...
Just check that the motion, is the one that you're moving.
It should be, yes.
Yes, it should be.
And say that despite the difficulties we were facing as far as our costs for water, this is a very, very strong outcome. And it takes me back to when the Ridge Park Dam was first being mooted 9 or 10 years ago. It took about 3 years of community unrest before we finally got approval for that to go ahead at great expenses because of the delay. But the value of what that has added to the MAR scheme has been invaluable. I just can't believe how good this new proposition is compared to what we could have been paying without it. So I commend it to you.
Yeah, it's a bargain. Thanks. Monica?
Yes, look, first I'd like to start off with a question. Whilst the costs for the MAR scheme, upgrading the MAR scheme might be difficult to estimate, what would the costs in order of like millions be, and also what would the technical challenges be to land something like that, an upgrade of the system?
Okay. Thank you, Aaron.
Through the chair. The costs would be quite large. I would estimate it would probably be over $1 million. The technical challenges are really around cleaning the water. You've got to have storage to clean the water. Your injection rates are so low that you just need a massive amount of storage. So your injection rates are like less than 5 litres a second. So when you're talking thousands and megalitres of water, that's a lot of storage to slowly clean it and then inject it. Those costs would go against extra storage, probably cleaning the water quicker, also putting more bores in, which are very expensive, and maintaining them, more pumps, etc. So, yeah.
Okay. Yes, look, I'll speak now. Whilst water management and security sits within the environment lead strategy of the community plan, I feel that I probably don't know as much about this as I probably should do. Just reading this report has provided a lot of really useful information that I just completely was unaware of. So things like where we get some of our water from to water our parks and reserves, licensing arrangements with 2 different government departments for the MAR schemes, the introduction of the state government's Adelaide Plains Water Allocation Plan on July 2022, reducing the reliance on the Murray River water to meet potable water demands with the increase in population, and how we have implemented a network of non-potable water supplies to improve our water security and to reduce operating costs. But who would have thought that there would be restriction on water extraction volumes being limited to injection volumes in relation to the MAR scheme that we have. That was, a feather in our cap to have this scheme and to be able to irrigate our Hayward Park and Ridge Park through our own water resources. The proposal makes a lot of sense, as Councillor Hughes has mentioned, given the sharp increase in prices for potable water over time, as shown in Table 2 in the report. The one-time water allocation entitlement payment of 94.9 megalitres of nearly $285,000, and the annual water levy of just $664 per annum. That's, I think, a very, very reasonable way to go, and I think, I'm very grateful for the negotiations that have happened. So, yeah, happy to support option 1.
Councillor Doyle, you speaking in favour?
I'm in favour, but I'd like to ask a question through the chair. Yep. It seems a little bit too good to be true when there's a one-off fee. I think it says in perpetuity or perennial. I just wanted to clarify, which is probably asking something that I don't need to, but is there a review date? Can it be changed in the future?
Through the chair, only through a ministerial decision or a change of legislation again in the future. So yes, it can change. It changed before, so when we were running the MAR schemes before, we were extracting lesser volumes, but it was the same sort of freedom to do that. So this is sort of like it's been revisited under the new water allocation plan. But yeah, so hopefully it will last a long time.
Mover?
Yes, in closing, I'd just like to refer to the gap water, which is mentioned in the report, and ask perhaps for a reply later on. But what is the contract arrangement we have there? Is it long term? Is it a good deal? But I don't need the answer tonight. So yes, the water supply to the City of Unley is quite fascinating, and we're doing a great job with the way it's currently set up.
Yeah, brilliant scheme. Those in favour? Thank you, unanimous. And the question about gap water, it's on the record. Does anybody want to just give a couple of sentences about the gap water? No. Take on notice. It's on notice. Thank you. Okay, next. East Waste Management Authority Annual Business Plan. Thank you, Councillor Brunetsky.
Okay. Look, yes, I'm happy to move option 1 to receive the report and approve the draft annual business plan for 26-27. I do have a question. There is a big increase in member fees to 5.4 million from 3.5 million. And I note that the majority of that is 1.66 million for a new general waste and hard waste disposal contract. Can you talk to perhaps what sits behind it?
Okay.
Behind that increase?
Thank you, Aaron.
Through the chair. Some of the other costs increases are all... The industry, the recycled market has changed. So there's definitely increased costs just through the processing of recycled materials, processing of organic materials. So that comes to quite a significant sum. The whole supply and demand market for recycled products, it fluctuates, and that puts pressure on the actual processing. And so the whole chain of where those recycled materials go. So there are pressures in those areas. So unfortunately, just those industry costs have increased.
Yep, I note from the business plan and policy implications in the report the risk for us and the other councils, the possibility of fuel prices going up even further. So presumably that will just be part of budget review if and when that does happen. The 4 objectives for the coming year about constituent council support, strengthening safety and compliance, improving service delivery and customer satisfaction, and driving environmental and circular economy outcomes. Those items are very closely linked to the strategies, and there's clear alignment with quantitative targets, which are pretty tight, I thought. I note also there will be a focus on digital solutions, specifically to improve efficiency. That will apparently be a focus for this coming financial year. So, yeah, I'm happy to move with option 1. I'm happy with that report.
Yeah, just thank you, Councillor Hughes.
I'll second and reserve my right.
Mover.
Close.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Yep. I've asked for 4-5 to come up. So we'd like to move that report be received. Thank you, Councillor Gaffey. Seconder, Councillor Palmer.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. I move that this report be received. As a member of this Audit and Risk Committee, which reviewed the financial performance, this provides Council with a clear, detailed snapshot of our actual year-to-date financial performance to the 31st of March, 9 full months into the financial year. The report allows us to see the forward-looking adjustments and how these are translating into real measurable results. Overall, Council is tracking $656,000 favourable to the approved budget. The positive variance is driven primarily through the strong operating result, partially offset by timing differences in our capital programs. Once again, it's a pleasing outcome that reinforces the prudent financial management that has been exercised all year by administration. Breaking it down a little, the operating side shows that we're $732,000 favourable to the budget. The standout factor here at the moment is employment costs, including contract labour, which is approximately $842,000 under budget there. It's just the natural timing of vacancies and the deliberate measured approach that administration has taken into recruiting both the new and vacant positions across the divisions there. The other favourable movements, user charges. The Unley Swimming Centre has been a big win, once again $137,000 ahead of budget, and shows the success of the program. A clear win for community enjoyment and financial performance there. Finance costs were $193,000 favourable. Borrowings were not required as expected in the first 3 quarters due to the timing, once again, of grant receipts, which has done quite well, and capital delivery. These are offset by things such as high materials, contracts and expenditure of about $466,000, concentrated in areas such as ICT software licences, utilities, waste management, legal fees, and lower statutory income of $185,000, mainly from parking expiations impacted through our parking plan. So hopefully, whilst we're not getting as many fines, it's actually a good thing for council. Operating projects are tracking $63,000 favourable, with about $1.7 million of the $3 million full year budget already utilised, a solid 9-month delivery rate. The capital expenditure, the net capital spend is slightly unfavourable at $139,000 unfavourable. But this is a timing sort of issue with the capital renewal program. At this stage, part of our capital renewal is a bit behind budget with the footpaths, reserves and buildings there. But strong progress is being made with several high-profile initiatives such as the Unley Museum and Galleries upgrade, the near completion of the Unley Oval Fence, and Unley Road streetscape works. These projects are continuing to enhance our public spaces and deliver on our livability and accessibility goals. Many of these operating variances have already been incorporated into the revised forecasts, strengthening our projected end-of-year position and reducing the estimated borrowings down to $11.1 million. In short, the Q3 financial performance report confirms that Council is delivering services efficiently, managing costs responsibly, and maintaining a solid financial platform as we head into the final quarter. Today's results align closely with the strategic risk oversight and the financial governance that we provide through the Audit and Risk Committee. The results demonstrate the ongoing commitment of Council to financially sustainable principles embedded in our community plan, ensuring that we can continue to invest in infrastructure, services and community outcomes that are expected by our residents if we can manage our budget. I commend the report.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Bonham?
Yes, I do.
Councillor,
I would apologise.
Daphne,
Sorry, Councillor Bonham.
Yes, I am very happy with this report as well. I did actually raise a couple of questions with staff about employment and the fact that we have such a large favourable budget or reduced expenditure on employment, and was assured, my concern was that if we were having trouble filling positions, perhaps there might be a shortage of staff and that would put pressure on other staff around them. I was assured that that's not actually the case, that it was simply a matter relating to the restructuring and actually getting people on board into particular positions. So it's not as if there's people doing more work than they should be. And so I was relieved at that staff aren't under pressure to pick up workloads from other people. The other thing that I raised with them was about the footpaths on Fullerton Road. I wanted to better understand the transfer of funds from Clarence Park Community Centre, which I understand that's not going ahead. because the childcare centre is no longer operating. But I wanted to better understand that transfer to Fullerton Road upgrade, because it seemed like a very expensive road footpath project. But as it was explained, it was a two-stage project, and that release of funds from Clarence Park Community Centre enabled the second stage of the project to be put in place. So I was quite pleased with that. But overall, as Councillor Gaffey has said, it's very good. We're in a very good financial position. Obviously some swings and roundabouts with timing, but generally it's quite favourable. And I have raised the possibility with staff, because we're about to go into the budget review, I've raised the possibility that maybe we could actually put those two reports together so that we've only got a single report, because as you'll note, as you go through each of the tables in the financial performance report, they anticipate the budget review, and what we have there is this will come up in the budget review. So I think that may be something that's worth considering into the future.
Councillor Brzezinski.
Yeah, look, this is another positive report. Last budget review was, I think, probably even better. So two good budget reviews in a row, which is, pretty good litmus test, I think. I did raise an issue about parking. It's a big drop, 175,000 in parking revenue. And the response was sent round to everybody about a reduction in permit zones, a reduction in expiations during the Royal Adelaide Show, and that there, and then the review of the community safety function in terms of education versus expiation. So, so there's a looking at productivity issues within the area versus operational performance. So, as Councillor Gaffey mentioned, like our borrowings have gone down. Now, they went down by 1.1 million, which is actually quite a significant drop. So that was really heartening, and with that, our net financial liabilities ratio has dropped by 2%. Operating surplus, as was mentioned, has gone up, which is, we're almost at that 4% level, which is really where we want to be at minimum. But because of the carryovers from last year, that has had this extended impact on our budget. That was, 4.41 million that was carried over. So I'm really hoping that looking ahead that we won't have that level of carryover. Generally, we've had carryovers for about 2.5 million, or over 2 million, probably 2.5 million. So we'll see what the carryovers look like in the new financial year. The capital works on King William Road, we discussed this at last budget review, how much will be new capital and how much will be a capital renewal. So hopefully that project finishes by the end of financial year, and we'll have a clearer picture of what kind of benefits that will deliver in terms of our borrowings if we don't have to borrow as much as we anticipated for the new capital works. So I think that's all I really had to say. Councillor, I think we've said enough about the spectre of the oil crisis, but I'll just leave it there.
Leaver? Those in favour? Unanimous. Just as a comment, I actually don't mind the two reports separated. I found it very easy reading, except I did find it rather strange that we were looking at the results before we did the review. So let's do the review now. Number 44.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is the third and final formal budget review for 25-26. Represents the last opportunity before we finalise our year-end accounts. Once again, it demonstrates Council's continued commitment to financial management, prudent financial management, transparency, and responsive decision-making in the face of ongoing economic pressures. It probably needs to be said that we're at a position now in this council where this just comes up every few months, that we just look at these and go, oh, it's just another budget there, and we take it for granted. And so, having spoken to other councillors around Adelaide, we're in a unique position that when we put together a budget, when we ask administration to go out and spend our money, that they spend our money and they do it properly. We don't have this review and have the CEO coming in and going, well, we're $4 million on this project and $3 million on this project. Our debts have blown out there. Unfortunately, I've been on this council for 3 and a bit years, and this comes up every time. We just expect that this is the norm, but this is abnormal. This is, you know, remarkable. So just reviewing a few things. As has been spoken, the operating surplus ratio has popped up to 3.9%, just under that magic 4% there. Hopefully there's a rabbit in your hat, Alex Brown, to fix it to 4 before we get to the end of the year. We've achieved a net $200,000 saving in general operational expenditure, which has been spoken about, with employee costs being favourable to the tune of about $600,000, as has been spoken by Councillor Bonham, with the timing of vacancies and the recruitment process there. The favourable net adjustment to interest income and expenses of $290,000, which has been spoken of by Councillor Brunetsky as the positive impact through advanced grant receipts and the timing of our capital works programs. It's all of these sort of things, the small things that get done, that just improve the budget line items time and time again. As I've spoken about, you know, the Unley Swimming Centre provided a bit of a bonus. This will need to be reviewed in the future, whether this is something that can be continued long term. Finally, as councillors would be aware, we've recorded a one-off income bonus of approximately $900,000 through the sale of surplus land parcels. These proceeds directly reduce our borrowings and provide a lasting benefit to the ratepayers through lowering future interest costs. We note that this type of sale of surplus land will help us improve the bottom line in the future. One of the notes from the review, as Councillor Hughes would be aware, was a very sensible reallocation of $328,000 from building renewal to footpath renewal on Fullerton Road in Highgate. This is a terrific project and has been welcomed by the community. The net financial liabilities ratio, which has been spoken of, has improved to 26%. The asset funding and renewal ratio and the asset sustainability ratio, as we're all aware, we try and keep these things at approximately 100%. These are sitting about 162 and 166% respectively. But they confirm that Council continues to meet its financial targets, but we're also trying to build and improve Council through the development of projects such as the Unley Museum and Gallery there. Our long-term financial plan is better through the development of these projects. Finally, the Q3 budget review positions us extremely well for a strong end-of-year result. I'd be rather surprised if we didn't see something very, very similar in a few months' time. And it dovetails into the preparation for our upcoming annual business plan and budget, and reflects the careful stewardship that we and administration have exercised throughout the year. And I'll leave it there. Thank you, Councillors.
Councillor Bott.
Yes, I'm very happy to second this and reiterate all the points that Councillor Gaffey has just made. The only other point that I would make is this budget review is assuming that we will, those parcels of land will settle by 30th of June.
Through the Chair, just for clarification regarding that, we have built them in as new capital income streams. We have not incorporated them in the operating surplus ratio. When they do settle, because they are not on council's asset register because the one's a road and the other ones are just not in the asset register. They would improve the operating surplus ratio, but we don't know whether the timing. One of them has settled, the other two we don't know the timing of exactly. So if they settle this year, they'll go into this year's operating surplus. Otherwise, if it's next year, they'll go into next year's.
Yeah. Okay, so the operating surplus might be even better,
better
than
be.
it currently looks. So that's terrific. I think to actually reduce our borrowings from 12.2 down to 11.1 million is excellent, is quite a good outcome for us. And also just noting the financial liabilities from 28 to 26%. And as Councillor Gaffey has already said, the high level of asset funding renewal is based on carry forwards from the Q1 and Q2 budget.
Councillor Brodetsky.
I'll just want to refer to the history book. Congratulations, that's landed now. In case people didn't see the email that came through, went a little bit over budget by 3,000, but I think I'm just very grateful that it's actually come to fruition and will actually be launched on July the 19th at the 60th anniversary of the Unley Library. Yep. Okay. So excellent. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. And I did note the $3,000 over expenditure, and I did note the reasons. And I am pleased that to have read both documents and all our finances, and very confident of what we're doing. Mover? Those in favour? Unanimous. It can turn round and go to turtle shape very fast, can't it? Next. Discretionary rebate applications, 4.6. Please, the mover. Thank you, Councillor Finos.
Thank you, Your Worship. In relation to item 4.6, discretionary rebate applications, I will be supporting option 1. This report represents 2 discretionary rate rebate applications for the Council's consideration relating to the Icarus Hall at 24 Arthur Street, Unley, and the St Spiridion House at 48 Oxford Terrace, Unley. The Pan-Icarian Brotherhood of Australia Incorporated is a non-for-profit organisation based in Unley for many years that delivers important cultural, social, historical and charitable activities for both the Greek community and the broader Unley community. Administration has formed the view that the use of the land aligns with section 1661J of the Act, as the Icarus Hall is used to host and administer activities that provide clear community benefit and supports Council's community plan and 4-year plan outcomes relating to cultural vitality, social inclusion and community participation. Likewise, the St Spiridion Greek Orthodox Community Incorporated, a non-for-profit organisation that has owned and occupied the property since 2005, provides valuable community services through the St Spiridion Bookshop, the Simple Shepherd's Cafe and various arts, crafts and social support programs. Option 1 provides the Council to grant discretionary rate rebates for both properties for the 2026-2027 financial year, in line with the Administration's assessment and Council's adopted policy framework. I believe both organisations make a meaningful contribution to our Unley community, and I encourage my fellow elected members to support and endorse option 1.
You're seconded, Councillor Brodetsky.
Reserve my right.
Mover.
Closed.
Those in favour? Yeah. Well done. Next. 4.7, the Common Seal. Councillor Brodetsky.
Move in terms.
Second.
Yes, I move or second it in terms and reserve my right.
Further? Those in favour? Unanimous. And I did read that one carefully too, because I've got to sign it. Next. Lead strategies. So I've done that. Yep. Next one, services register 4.8.
I am happy to move in terms of the administration's recommendation here. I think the first part of this report, attachment 1, gives us an overview of the huge amount of work that council does and that our staff do. It's quite an effort going through attachment 1, let alone all the work that goes on behind it. So I think our staff are doing an amazing job. In terms of the strategic, the service review framework, I think it's an essential part of any service provider to actually go through, review the services that it's actually offering, that it's actually undertaking, and ensure that those services are meeting current needs, but also being bolstered if required and adjusted where required. So it makes a good organisation will go through that review process. I have asked the CEO about a couple of what have been identified as editorial changes, and one of those is to actually identify in the introduction just how the services are nominated for review. And the wording, I've actually provided some wording on that, and that I'll read that out as people might be interested, but this can go into the introduction, and it is simply an editorial improvement. So that's a 3-year rolling program of service reviews is developed by a collaboration between the CEO and the CEO Performance Review Committee. This program ensures a structured, prioritised and manageable approach to the review of council's services. The implementation of the rolling program is reflected in the CEO's performance indicators and endorsed by council. So effectively, I've stolen some words from earlier in the report to actually just insert into the introduction of the framework so that our community, those people who are looking at the review process know the authority with which those reviews are being conducted. A couple of other points that I've suggested is on page 203, it has, I'll just look it up, in terms of who is involved, it's actually got council approves recommendations where there are significant community, financial or service level impacts. Now, I've asked that the term if required is deleted because one would assume that if it's significant community, financial or service level impacts, it will be required. So the if required can be deleted. The other point that I've raised is the need for, with some service revisions, it's likely that there will be a need for some touch points along the way with council to inform council, not ask our opinions, but inform council of the reviews, the stage at which those reviews are up to. So I thought that in the beginning, we will have an idea from the CEO's KPIs of what's being reviewed, and then along the way, where those reviews are going to have a significant impact, we will be informed of where they're up to. So I think that's going to be hopefully quite useful in that.
Yes, Councillor Crabb, second.
Yes, happy to second that, and noting those minor editorial changes just to ensure that residents, ratepayers and our customers have that reassurance that there is that council oversight as necessary.
Councillor Brunetsky.
I think the changes do provide a context around the framework. The framework kind of goes bang, there it is. You know, there's the framework. But how does that link into how that framework is actually utilised? I think that the changes, particularly in relation to the CEO performance review and how that happens there, and the ongoing reporting through CEO performance review that comes to us in terms of progress reports, I think that having that link in this framework provides clarity about how this is actually operationalised. So I think that's relevant and a good change.
Yeah, okay, comment on page 203.
Through you, Your Worship. Take on board all those comments, and I think I'll speak to Danny and other staff, but I think there's the opportunity to include that on the flow chart, page 196, that has five phases, that it says the responsibility. We may well feed that in there on the right-hand column that says report to council, and I think there's probably 2 steps there. I wouldn't think you'd want all service reviews, but for those key ones, absolutely.
Okay. Mover?
Close.
Those in favour? Thank you. I'll just use the opportunity to say that the CEO review panel has done the KPIs right through getting ready for our July meeting, and I'll send those out because it's part of the review. Members will be meeting with our facilitator about that, and it will be good for you to have where we're up to with the panel with the reviews this year. But we can't have the final one, of course, because we haven't got to the end of the year. We've still got a month to go, but you can have the most up-to-date we've got. Okay, next. Contract management policy. Councillor Bonham.
Again. The reason for moving this, I suppose, is because it was discussed at some length at Audit and Risk Committee, and they were very impressed with our contract management policy and did offer a few comments for improvements which have been incorporated into this final document. So apart from the legislative requirements to have policies that address contracts and tenders, our Audit and Risk Committee, as I said, were impressed with the policy, and it gives us it assists us in minimising risks of contracts going awry. As the discussion points out, the contract management policy establishes a consistent and transparent approach across the lifetime of a contract from establishment through to completion. It gives us clarity, to council employees and suppliers on council's approach to contract management, and it sets out clarity around roles and responsibilities of those involved in the contract process. So specifically designating a contract owner, the person accountable for approvals and outcomes ultimately, and a contract manager that's responsible for day-to-day activity. So the key changes or improvements that the Audit and Risk Committee asked for was at paragraph 6.3.6 to ensure that the contract owner had been consulted on escalating non-compliance with a contract to seeking legal advice. So it's not simply the contract manager that decides to seek legal advice. They have to do that in consultation with the contract owner. And 6.4.8 to specify that any variation to the contract is agreed by both parties to that contract. So it's also noted that an internal contract management procedure and or checklist is going to be developed to support implementation of the policy. So I think we have a fairly good contract management policy there.
Councillor Brunetsky.
Yes, look, I'm happy to second. I note the recommendations from the Audit and Risk Committee, which sound very sensible and logical. I've been through the contract management policy and have suggested some minor editorial changes. So I'm happy to follow in the footsteps of Audit and Risk and recommend this policy for adoption.
Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Your Worship. As has been stated by Councillor Bonham, the Audit and Risk Committee goes through these things fairly carefully. It's perhaps a committee of policy wonks, really, where each line is kind of passed, where everyone's looking, do we want that? Is this language supposed to be here? And Peter nods his head, yes, it should be there, or maybe we can look at it. Do you really want to get into this detail? To which the committee members say, yes, we do want to get into this detail and continue to go through it. So this body can be rest assured that this has been reviewed quite carefully.
Mover.
Close.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Next, for 11's done, council action records. Look, let's get somebody. Councillor Palmer and perhaps Councillor Roach. Mover. Those in favour? Unanimous. Motions of which notice has been given, nil. Motions without notice. Questions of which notice has been given, nil. Questions without notice, probably at which notice will be wanted for the next answer them anyway. Nil. Next, Mayor's report. Somebody like to move that? Councillor Gaffey, seconded Councillor Doyle. Those in favour? Unanimous. Now, Councillor Finos moving the Deputy Mayor's report. Seconded Councillor Beat. Councillor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Elected members' reports for having a look. Correspondence. Actually, that's something I haven't checked. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. That's I read all this stuff up. I hadn't looked at that one. Thank you. Confidentiality motion. Yep. Yes, I know. We just moved, and Councillor Hughes, I'd get into conference. Those in favour? Sorry?
Who moved and seconded?
Moved. Councillor Gaffey, seconded Councillor Hughes.